What do South Korean people think of Americans?
Greasy food and being fat.
Way to go, Nick. Good job. You've single-handedly offended all of Devin's family in 5 words. Yeah, not a great start to your time in America. How exactly do you expect them to approve your marriage when you're calling them fat and lazy and you're calling their daughter a pig?
No wonder you're piggy.
Are you serious?
Look at this. I'm just saying the truth.
Someone needs to teach this man how to read the room. Now, before we get to how messed up it is to call your fiancé a piggy, let's rewind to the beginning. So, meet Nick and Devin. Nick, from South Korea, is 31. Devin, from Sarcy, Arkansas, is 23. They met on Tinder whilst both living in Australia, but after 2 years together, Devin got homesick. So in order to bring Nick back with her to America, the pair got engaged and applied for a K1 visa. And while over the last few episodes we've seen them in South Korea meeting Nick's parents, they are now on American soil. They're in Memphis, Tennessee. And when we join them today, they're getting ready to make the 2-hour journey back to where they're going to be living with Devin's family in Arkansas.
But I'm worried about living with them because I'm moving in their house in a different country. Oh, it's real heavy.
Now, Nick's right to be worried. He's only met Devin's parents face to face the night before, and today he's about to move into the family home. He knows that the entire family will be watching him like a hawk. I mean, understandably, everyone's curious about him. They all want to know how his relationship with Devin is in real life. So Nick knows that he needs to be on his best behaviour. But all of his worries and concerns momentarily vanish when he sees Devin's home for the first time.
Her house, really big. Most of Korean house is apartment. Looks like she is so rich compared to that.
It's a lovely house. It's big, but it's big for a reason. You see, there's a lot of people living under that one roof. Alongside Devin's parents, Devin and Nick, you also have her 2 sisters and her brother. In total, that's 7 people all living under the one roof. So Nick is well and truly outnumbered here. That's a lot of people watching his every move.
How many people in the house? Like 6? Was it 6 people in the house? It's gonna be a bit awkward and it'll be difficult to have some privacy.
No, Nick, that's 7 people. There's now 7 people in the house. It's not exactly a good sign that he appears to have forgotten someone. But maybe that gives us an early warning sign about his tendency to miss the details. A lack of awareness, perhaps. Either way, there's going to be plenty of time for Nick to get fully acquainted with everyone, because in order to save money to buy their own property, they're going to be staying with the family for an extended period of time. So when we join them the next morning, it's time for Nick to finally get to see the town he'll be living in.
Look at this, White County.
Yeah, we're in White County.
That's interesting, White County.
It's not talking about skin color.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, but there must be a reason.
Now, I looked into the reason, and yes, the town is named after a person, but it also comes with a lot of controversy. This was a politician known for supporting slavery. So yeah, the town's name still sparks debate and tension to this day. And it's understandable that Nick is feeling uneasy. He's clearly on edge right now. And it makes sense, because during his time in Australia, Nick himself endured racism. He's very worried it might happen again here.
Quite a lot of racists there. Yeah, it scares me because I've seen racism in countryside in Australia. So it kind of scares me, yes.
Cersei is majority white. There are people here who probably aren't as tolerant, who were born here, live here, and die here.
Nick goes on to say that he's noticed an increase in racism against Asians since COVID. You can really sense his nervousness here. Devin's obviously done her best to accurately prepare him for what he might face. So while he's clearly aware of the problem, one thing he wasn't prepared for right now is the statue that the two of them come across as they walk around town.
This is a statue of a Confederate soldier.
Soldier was fighting for having a slave.
Right.
That's okay. Okay.
Nick's reaction says it all. He doesn't know how to respond. He tells the camera crew that while he'll try his best, if at any point he does start to feel uncomfortable in Sarsi, well, then they're going to have to think of a plan B. Fingers crossed it doesn't come to that. Now, the rest of their tour goes by very smoothly because, well, there's not too much to see. And when we join them a few days later, Devin's family are hosting a cookout. They've invited some friends and they want everyone to meet Nick.
Even though I'm sure it's stressful on him, it really lets us get to know him personally so that we know how he's going to treat her for the long term.
And that's totally fair and totally understandable. So far, Devin's parents do like Nick. He's been polite. He cleans up after himself. He seems really nice, they say. But at the same time, they do still need to get to know him a bit better. At the moment, they only know surface level, and they can't yet judge his true character. Now, with that being said, Devin's parents seem like kind people. They've welcomed Nick into their home with open arms. It's obvious that they're making an effort with him. They're trying to make him feel comfortable and integrate him into their lives.
Come over, Nick, and we'll show you how to cook some fish.
So basically, we are having fish and chips.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
Southern fish and chips.
So on the menu tonight is catfish. They're gonna teach Nick how to fry it up southern style. Everyone's chilled out, they're all enjoying their meal. But things take a very strange turn when Devin's family friend asks Nick what South Koreans think of Americans. And look at Devin's face immediately change. She knows what's about to happen.
Greasy food and being fat.
Oh my.
I don't think that way.
Yes, he does.
Oh my, indeed. Nick, what are you doing? What was it we were saying earlier about awareness? Like, why would he feel the need to say that to two objectively larger people while eating fried fish and chips? Don't get me wrong, there's a time for honesty, but there's also ways to present the truth without insulting people. Now, Devin doesn't help matters. She throws him under the bus by saying, yes, he does. And that really just shows how fed up she is with this side of Nick.
Some people are just lazy, and it's easier to drive through and get something than to cook.
What do you think?
You're lazy, so you always get the fast food for lunch.
Devin's dad tries to throw Nick a bone, but Nick just throws that bone back in his face. What's interesting is that Devin almost seems to be egging him on. She seems to be encouraging him. She knows what Nick's like, so maybe she's hoping by humiliating himself in front of her family and friends, perhaps he might learn a lesson from this. But if the vibe was already awkward, well, it's about to get even awkwarder.
No wonder you're piggy.
Are you serious?
Look at this. I'm just saying the truth.
Yeah, that lady looks very unimpressed, and Nick is now fast losing his spot in everyone's good books. Now, as far as this whole nickname is concerned, the whole piggy nickname that he calls his fiancée, despite Devin repeatedly telling him that she doesn't like it, he persists with it. He's not going to let it drop. Why? Well, he sees it as a term of endearment. It's a cute nickname that he chose because Devin's a little chubby, he says. Like, he can't wrap his head around the fact that this is insulting.
And I call her piggy because she's cute and a little chubby. I thought chubby is kind of a little fat, but I realized that chubby is kind of quite fat.
The piggy nickname is something that has been a very long, ongoing battle that I've very much given up on.
Not only does Nick now correctly know what chubby means, but Devin has asked him multiple times to stop calling her that, yet he refuses to stop. Honestly, it's disrespectful and it's rude. It's kind of a red flag that he blatantly ignores her wishes like that, even though he knows it might hurt her. I'm actually a little surprised that Devin's parents sit there in silence and don't say a word while this is all happening.
Him calling her Piggy concerns me. Even though Devin acts as if it doesn't bother her, I don't want her deep down inside actually be bothered by that.
I don't even think it's that deep down. It's very obvious that Devin doesn't like that name. Perhaps if her dad had directly spoken to Nick about it at the time, then he may have stopped. Like, you've got to keep in mind that at 23 years old, she's definitely still at an age where these kind of comments can have a negative long-term effect on her self-esteem.
I do not think that he understands the impact being in America, where weight is such a huge deal and women struggle with it every day.
I really don't understand Nick's thought process here. He knows the nickname's offensive. He knows it makes Devin feel uncomfortable. So why does he continue to use it? At what point does this just become bullying? Well, as the night wraps up and the kids help to clean, Devin's parents and their friends have a few moments to debrief. And there's definitely concern in the air.
That's kind of a big deal, what we were talking about. It was just kind of uncomfortable big deal.
What part?
What is her nickname?
He calls her Piggy.
What part are we talking exactly? Was it the Piggy nickname, or was it the part where he called you all fat and lazy? Someone might like to remind Nick that while he has got his parents' approval for marriage, he hasn't yet got Devin's parents' blessing. It's not a shoo-in. This is precisely the kind of behaviour that might make them think twice. He better be on his best behaviour going forward, because if he thought they were watching him before, well, it's just intensified.
I'm worried about finding out that he's going to be a good person, that he's going to treat her right. You know, we've got to hurry up and make that decision because it's getting here pretty quick.
All of the concerns and question marks that they had in their minds about Nick's character have just become a lot more pressing, and they have less than 90 days to figure it out. And even though Devin's dad didn't step in today, he's definitely taken note. In fact, he vows to take Nick to one side and have a man-to-man chat with him.
I need to have a heart-to-heart with Nick about how I expect my daughter to be treated. That way, there's no questions in the future. He knows how I feel.
That's a good call, but the worry is, it might just be a band-aid on a much bigger issue. I mean, the real question is, why isn't Devin's word enough? Why doesn't Nick listen to her when she asks him to stop? One thing's for sure, we're soon gonna find out.